everybody. I'm Chris Van Dusen here with another episode of what I'm now calling dun, 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 Chris Van Doodles. Yeah, that's what I'm calling now my drawing sessions. And today we're going to draw another character from the Mercy Watson books. This is my favorite character to draw. By the way, the Mercy Watson books were all written by the fabulous author Kate DiCamillo, and they were published by Candlewick Press. And today we are going to draw this character right here. Her name is Eugenia Lincoln. If you follow my steps, I think you guys will do just fine. So let's move the title page, turn that off, and we'll grab our ebony pencil once again, and let's start. Okay. So I'm going to start with a line that looks kind of like this. It's slightly angled, and it has a slight crook in it. It's kind of shaped like that, okay? That's all you have to do to start with. That's pretty easy, right? Now we're going to start at the bottom of this line, and again, draw lightly at first because you may have to make some changes. We may make some mistakes along the way, but that's okay. I make mistakes too, so don't worry about it. We're going to curve this around like this, kind of like that, right? And then we're going to come up the other side, and we're going to do the same thing with a slight angle like that, almost like they're parentheses, you know, like parentheses like this. And this is the bottom half of Eugenia Lincoln's head. This is actually her chin down here. Now let's go back up to the top of this line, and we're going to have to define where Eugenia's cheek is. And we're going to come down a little bit and inside the line, and we're going to do a slight curved line that looks something like this. All right? Same thing over here, a little bit in and down, and we're going to curve up like that. We're going to keep that one really light because we're actually going to draw the nose over that curve. Let's do the nose right now. We're going to start right here and put a little line like that right in the middle of those two cheeks. Again, these are going to be the cheeks. This is her big jowls and her big chin down here at the bottom, okay? So this will be the bottom of her nose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a line that curves out like this and down slight, almost like a slight curve to it, like almost like a very, very shallow S shape. We're going to come up at an angle at the end. And then we're going to start up here, and we're going to come down and join right there. That's going to be the shape of Eugenia's nose. So now we can take our eraser if you want, and you can erase through that line because now that cheek is behind her nose. Now we're going to finish the side of her nose, which we show the side of her nostril, which kind of looks like this. And that's basically what her nose is going to look like. All right? Now, Eugenia is not the nicest character in the Mercy Watson books. In fact, she's pretty cranky most of the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some of these creases that go down by the side of her mouth and make her look like she's scowling. And we do that by starting right on the side of the nostril line here, right? Find that point and just curve your pencil down, and then it curves back out, and it curves back around like that. Got it? All right, now find a spot right about there on her nose and curve this down around like this and curve like that. All right, good job, looking good. Now this is going to be where her mouth is, right in here. And since she's always scowling and since she's always cranky, what I like to do is I like to start with a line that goes like this, and then kind of curves around like this, and then back down. That, to me, looks like a scowling mouth. And I'm going to show you a little trick that sometimes cartoonists use to define the bottom lip. If a character has a bottom lip, the easiest way to define it is just to put a slight shadow, which can be just as simple as a little line underneath the mouth. So it looks like this chin is kind of curving around. And then let's add those wrinkles that older people get on their top lip. And those are just going to look like little lines that go up like this. You can put as many or as few as you want. I just put 4 across there because that seemed to fit pretty well. Down at the bottom of the chin, we're going to put a little line that looks like this that sort of defines the front surface because her chin is kind of angled like this. So we're going to do that. And then we'll just put a slight shadow underneath her nose that kind of comes down at a point. And again, we can keep this kind of light at first because we may have to change some things around. But right now, it's looking pretty good. All right. Now, Eugenia also wears these glasses. And these glasses are called cat eye glasses. They're called cat eye glasses because they're shaped kind of like cat's eyes. So the way we draw those is we're going to start with the bridge of the nose. And we're going to do this shape that's kind of like an upside down U. And that's the part of the glasses that sits on the bridge of her nose, just like that. Okay? Now, we're going to take a line and we're going to go up like this because that's going to be the top of her glasses and it's going to look something like this. Just like that. And we can make it a little bit thicker. Right? Now, on the other side, we have to do the exact same thing, but only pointing up at the other direction. So it's going to look something like this. It's a little bit trickier for me to draw because I'm drawing with my hand and I'm trying to keep it level for you guys. So, see, I got it a little bit too high, I think. So, okay, I'm just going to switch this page around just for a second, just so I could make it easier for me to draw, but it's going to look something like that. All right, that's better. See, I made a mistake. No big deal. This is not a masterpiece. We're just having fun. Now we're going to finish up the shape of the glasses. We're going to take this curve that curves down. It's going to touch the top of her nostril just slightly. And then we're going to curve right around and up to this point right there. That's one side of her glasses. Same thing with the other one, but we're going to start right about here. We're going to curve around, and we're going to come right up and join her glasses right there. See how they kind of look mean because they're angled down? Oops, see, I just made a mark on the page up here. But they're kind of angled down at like this, and that makes her look a little bit meaner. And the next thing we're going to draw is we're going to draw her eyes, and her eyes are simple circles, and they tuck right in the corner. They're fairly close together, so they tuck right in here, and they look something like this. We'll draw one here, oops, and we'll draw one here. And we'll have her looking this way because maybe she's looking over at the Watsons and she just can't stand the idea that they have a pig living with them. So she's glaring over. But to make her look mean, if you guys watched me draw Mercy Watson yesterday, we did a little experiment. We made Mercy Watson look mean, but then we changed her back to happy. But to make a character look mean, all we have to do is angle the eyebrows like this. And so we're going to angle the eyebrows, and they're kind of heavy, they're kind of dark, and they look like that. And they're looking over at the Watsons. To make her look even meaner, we're going to add a little wrinkle right up here that looks kind of like a U-shaped, right, that kind of nestles right in her glasses there. Ooh, yeah, she does look mean. Now let's go back to these lines that define the cheeks. These are some of the first lines we drew. And let's continue those with a little space so it looks like the glasses there. So a little bit like that, and we're going to curve it like that, right? Same thing on this side. So that defines the side of her head. Now we're going to add some wrinkles below her eyes. We're going to add some bags below her eyes, which are just like U-shaped that kind of tuck right up in there, right? And she's also has these wrinkles on the side of her eyes that some people call them crow's feet. And I think they're called crow's feet because they look like what a crow's footprint would look like, kind of like the three toes, like that. Oh, yeah. Ooh, she doesn't look very happy, does she? I got this eye looking a little bit different. Sometimes it's hard for me to get eyes to line up just right. So if your eyes aren't quite lining up, don't worry about it. We'll fix those as we go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the shape of Eugenia's forehead. And it looks something like this. It's kind of comes up here and then it curves in slightly. On the other side, it comes up and it curves in slightly, just slightly. And then across the top, it curves in like this, just slightly too. So it's kind of a fun, it's almost like a square, but with bent sides kind of bulging in a little bit. That's going to be the shape of her forehead. And let's add some wrinkles across her forehead, which to me kind of look like upside down waves. So I'm gonna put one here, and then it's like this. And then I'm gonna stack them up on top of each other. And you can put as many as you want, or as few. I kind of make them a little bit lighter as they go higher. So there she is. That's basically the shape of her head. But now we're going to add her ears. And we're going to add her ears before we add her hair because the hair kind of goes behind her ears. So find a spot right in the middle, right opposite her eye, right in the middle of her upper cheek there, and find a little spot right there. Come out like this, all right? Leave a little space so it looks like it's going behind the glass of the glasses. Then start right on the edge of the glasses and curve down around and do your classic sort of ear shape, cartoon ear shape. She does have really big ears, so it may seem really big, but we're going to make her really big ears because I think that sort of adds to the comic element of her. Same thing on the other side. We're going to start right in the middle of that line that defines the side of her thing, of her head. We're going to curve around. This one's going to go behind her nose, rather, and curve back around like that. Got it? Excellent. Now we're going to add a line here that defines some of the creases inside her ear. There's like a little bump out here, and then something like this down at the bottom. Same thing over here. Line, bump that goes behind the nose, and it comes like this. Good. Excellent. Now the really fun part to draw is her hair. And her hair is just this swirly, swirly curlicues. And I start usually up in this corner, and I just do something like this. Right? Now let's start here and go over here. It kind of tucks behind her ear. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing where it kind of curves down around, and you can make it anything really you want it to be. It's kind of fun to just draw. Usually she has like one or two hairs that are just kind of going like that, or so I usually add those too. And then when you get down here, add a little bit more tighter hair down behind her ear because I think that'll make it look like the hair sort of in the back of her head. That'll be good. So that's basically the shape of her head and her expression and her hair and her ears. But now we have to add her shoulders. And her shoulders are usually really high up on her head because she's usually scowling at the Watsons next door. So I'm going to start right in the middle of her ear. That seems really high. But from there, we're actually going to curve up and down like that. Let me turn it so you guys can see it. There we go. Up like that. Right? That's the top of her shoulder. Here, it's going to be right sort of by her nose. It's the same thing where it comes down like that. Now, this is an old sweater, so sometimes I put these little pills. Those old sweaters get kind of nubby and stuff, so I sometimes do that. But let's do the bottom of her arms. We're going to start with a line that looks like this. This will be the side of the top of her body. And then this will be the, oops, let me turn this so you guys can see it. We'll do this and we'll do this like that. And again, we can add some little marks to make it look like a wool sweater. Over here, we're going to do just kind of a curved line like this and her other arm. That can really be anything you want. You don't have to really, do that exact. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a lace collar, because she always wears a little lace collar. So there's like this little zigzaggy line with maybe some little dots that look like lace on either side right below her ears, right? That's basically it. We can darken up some of these lines now, and we can add a little bit of shading, and I think we'll be good to go. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading to her cheeks. I'm going to darken her nose a little bit, add a little bit of shading to the end of her nose, darken up her shadow, darken it in her glasses by her eyes, make it look like her eyes are kind of sunken in, maybe darken up some of the things inside her ears, and the bottom half of her chin, add a little shadow under her head, and you're pretty much good to go. And that is how you draw Eugenia Lincoln from the Mercy Watson series. All right, guys, we will be back tomorrow with another drawing. I'm not sure who I'm going to draw, but I hope you stay well. And if you have pictures you'd like to send to me, I'd love to see them. So stay well. We'll see you tomorrow, friends. Bye.